So I've had to change the script a couple of times now because I originally planned on making this the day it happened, but life gets in the way. I actually was in the process of making something else entirely, but I think I want to drop my 2 cents while the topic is still hot.
So a couple of days ago, I was just doing me, minding my own business. I'm at school, about to go to my next class when one of my homies shows me this video, and it's Charlie Kirk doing what he usually does at colleges, talking about some triggering political topics, when all of a sudden someone no-scopes him and the bullet lands on his neck. Instant DOA. I first thought it was a little bullshit because that's just not how blood works. Especially when you consider that it wasn't even a month ago that some ex-CIA guy or something now proved that the attempt on Trump's life was staged. I mean, when you cut yourself, you see a bit of your flesh before the blood oozes out, but I have no idea. What I do know is this. Charlie Kirk's death and the very fact that someone made an attempt on his life is objectively not a good thing, whether or not you agree with his crazy ass takes. The reaction to his death just shows the extent to which the political schism has divided this country and the effects of the gun culture here has on even its proponents. One thing I've been sporadically doing over the past few days is checking my personal Instagram, where I see a bunch of people posting their takes on the whole situation. Now, for the record, I'm friends with all kinds of people, from the leftists who just might be super gay, to the professional rage baiter conservatives, and I think my Insta list of mutuals kind of reflects that. I've seen posts from people saying that Kirk's death isn't something to be celebrated and that he died an American patriot. And on the other hand, I've seen posts that are basically just this, and kind of going like, haha, a pro-gun activist got hit by a phase assassin. In other words, it's safe to say that the discord surrounding the whole situation devolved into an absolute clusterfuck. But outside of the very few people in my private life and into the much larger scope of the overall political discourse going on about his assassination, the opinion is equally as mixed. There's a decent amount of LARPing and virtual signaling going on, because ain't no way someone who said that 9/11 was deserved is apologizing to Charles Kirk. But a lot of people aren't too happy with the fact that he went out the way he did. Either way, the more extreme elements of Republicans are going to see his demise as some form of higher power trying to silence him, and being Republicans already, they're only going to believe everything he said and much more. And as much as I and the next person want to criticize him for his receding hairline, yuck-ass pedophile-looking smile, and the overall incel-esque appearance despite him not actually being one, at the very end of the day, when you put aside his abhorrent views on minority and society and whatnot, this is a man with a family. The thing that's bad about this is that he has that child who might never know the joy of being raised by an actual father. And that experience that was essentially robbed from him could turn him to the dark side. Where Kirk was quote-unquote debating our liberals for clicks and views on social media, this child of his could do a lot worse to not even just the liberals, but to society at large, because this would be a hurt person who is trying to deal with their pain harbored towards the world at large, all because of what one person did. The identification of the perpetrator is going to mean a whole lot for the country, was what I originally planned to say until it actually happened. The person responsible for Kirk's demise is Tyler Robinson, a local from Utah. But if I had to make a guess of who is responsible for taking Kirk's life prior to the actual person being identified, my guess would have been a student at that college campus he was on, who was a part of the people who really didn't want Charlie to come. I would have guessed that there was a decent chance this person might have left-leaning politics, but given the political motivations that drove Mangione to do what he did as an example, I couldn't really count on this. It takes a little more than the egalitarian, justice for all beliefs that most left-leaning people hold on to have the state of mind that resolves to terminate somebody's life. But what I mean by who this person is being significant to the country at large is how people are initially going to perceive him. So far, from what I've seen online, the tonality towards Kirk's demise is slightly negative, and only the extremist, most autistic sides of the political sphere are really cheering on his death. And because his presumptive killer happens to be white and from a family with a history of gun ownership, no one's really gonna think about it after a while. What if the shooter was belonging to a particular minority? What would that mean for members of said minority? Well, I got one answer.
Race war!
Even before this cracker was identified as the suspect, far-right idiots were calling for violence and death to the figureheads on the opposite side of the whole political shtick. It was just instantly assumed that it was some leftist, transgender, retard type of person who's responsible for Kirk's demise. And when you think about it, the same thing happened too with the attempt on Trump's life about a year ago, where everybody just assumed that it was just some leftist super minority person or whatever, when in reality it was just this nerdy gun bro who, ironically, showed signs of him being a right-leaning. It's just crazy how feral people act when it comes to politics. And with how the whole political schism, even though both parties are controlled by the same people, are actively pushing people to their respective political extremes, it's just crazy how political violence is becoming the new normal every day, as it becomes ever increasingly harder to live out our daily lives. At the end of the day, I can say that I just about fundamentally disagree with most things, if not everything that this man stands for. College is not a scam if you know what you're doing, and debating kids almost half your age isn't something cool. The way Charlie frames his debates and how he posts content on social media does spread very harmful ways of thinking. But does that mean he needs his life.exe file to be deleted? The answer is no. Forgive my very shitty analogy to dodge saying the actual K word, but the fact that this isn't the overwhelming opinion of people is just sad. The fact that a non-zero amount of people are cheering on at this assassination means that they agree with political silence done via violent means. The tough economic conditions we all live in right now are driving people to the extremes, and in the bid to just be able to put food on the table, people are abandoning logic and rationale in the masses, and now abandoning empathy and compassion for a fellow human beings because of the political beliefs that he held. And though this is indeed a person who said the thing he said about gun deaths, and the amount of sympathy he would spare if one of his political opponents happens to be the subject of a crime like this. And because of the topic I initially intended on covering, which, if you care, will be either the next thing I upload or the one after that, before I close off the video, I feel it very necessary to say one thing. Dear Charlie Kirk, even though you were an absolute crazy fucking retard who deserved to be, at the very most, a bitch slap live on camera in front of everyone, at the very least, you are being your authentic self, which I have no other choice to respect, and I think nobody deserves to die for. So for that reason, and also because of the subject of the video I was working on before this Kirk shooting thing happened, before I end this video, I have one thing to say. May your soul have the rest it deserves. Because rage baiting an entire side of the political sphere while being some Israeli plant must have been exhausting. R.I.R. Oh yeah, and wishing for a speedy recovery for the 2 kids who got grazed by bullets in that Everglades school thing, because traditional media is trying to normalize that children are getting slaughtered by barely making a mention of it. And the other shooting thing, I really don't know. So you've made it to the end of this video, and I just want to say that I appreciate you. If you care any bit, the content is going to be a little bit slower because I'm trying to put more of an effort into the quality of videos I edit, and I simply don't have that much time to work with anymore, so yeah. Same old YouTuber shit. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, and give me a kiss kiss.
Yeah.